Have you ever wondered why one person can leave your life, but never leave your mind? Why do you replay conversations that ended months ago? Why does your heart keep holding on, even when your mind knows it's over? What if the greatest prison isn't losing someone, but refusing to let them go? Stay with me until the very end, because the 10th Stoic rule is the one that has helped countless people finally break free from emotional chains and reclaim their peace. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize they are carrying someone who is no longer carrying them. The hardest battles are rarely fought with fists or words. They are fought silently inside the mind. You wake up thinking about them. You work while remembering them. You try to distract yourself, but somehow every song, every street, every quiet moment leads back to the same face. Stoic philosophy teaches something revolutionary. Your suffering is not caused by the person who left. It is caused by the attachment your mind continues to protect. Marcus Aurelius believed that peace begins the moment you stop asking life to be different from what it already is. Today, you're not just watching another motivational video. You're beginning the journey back to yourself. The first Stoic lesson is painfully simple, yet almost no one truly lives by it. Reality does not ask for your permission before it changes your life. People leave without warning. Trust is broken. Opportunities disappear. Dreams collapse in a single moment. And the mind immediately begins its endless rebellion, whispering, "This shouldn't have happened. They should have stayed. If only I had said one more thing." But reality is completely indifferent to those arguments. It never pauses to hear your objections. Every second spent fighting what has already happened is a second surrendered to a battle that cannot be won. This is why so many people remain emotionally trapped for years, not because the event itself continues to hurt them, but because they keep reopening the wound with endless resistance. The Stoics understood a timeless truth: suffering grows whenever we demand that the past become something it can never be. Acceptance is not saying the pain was fair. It is recognizing that the past has already cast its vote, and no amount of wishing can change the result. The moment you stop asking reality to rewrite yesterday is the moment your energy begins returning to you. Imagine standing in the middle of a raging river, desperately trying to force the current backward with your bare hands. At first, you believe determination will save you. Then your strength fades. Fear replaces hope. Eventually, exhaustion becomes your greatest enemy, not because the river became stronger, but because you refuse to move with what could never be controlled. Life works the same way. Every disappointment, betrayal, and unexpected ending becomes heavier when you carry it with resistance instead of wisdom. The Stoics did not teach people to love suffering, they taught them to stop multiplying it. They knew that the strongest person is not the one who controls every circumstance, but the one who adapts without surrendering their character. Acceptance is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your freedom. The chains that keep most people imprisoned are rarely forged by the past itself, they are forged by the belief that the past still owes them a different ending. The day you release that impossible expectation, your mind becomes quiet, your vision becomes clear, and your future finally has room to breathe. True peace arrives not when life becomes perfect, but when you stop demanding that reality become something it was never meant to be. Many people spend years believing they are holding on because of love, when in reality they are trapped by attachment. At first, the two feel almost identical, but they are worlds apart. Love is generous. It respects freedom, celebrates growth, and wishes the other person well, even if that path no longer includes you. Attachment, however, is rooted in fear. It whispers, "I can't be okay without them. My happiness belongs in their hands." It confuses possession with devotion and dependence with intimacy. This is why the end of a relationship can feel like losing yourself rather than simply losing another person. Stoicism challenges you to ask one uncomfortable question: do you miss the person, or do you miss the certainty, comfort, and identity you built around them? Most people are grieving not only someone's absence but also the future they imagined, the routines they cherished, and the version of themselves that only existed within that relationship. The pain feels unbearable because your mind isn't mourning one loss, it is mourning an entire world that no longer exists. The Stoics warned against building your inner peace on anything that can be taken away, because whatever controls your happiness eventually controls your life. No person, no relationship, and no external circumstance was ever meant to become the foundation of your identity. When your sense of worth depends entirely on someone else's presence, their choices become the ruler of your emotional world. But the moment you separate love from attachment, something extraordinary begins to happen. You realize that loving someone never required losing yourself. You can cherish the memories without becoming their prisoner. You can appreciate what once existed without demanding that it return. Real healing starts the moment you stop asking another person to complete the parts of you that only your own character can rebuild. The strongest love is never born from desperation, it grows from wholeness. And when your peace no longer depends on someone else's presence, you become impossible to emotionally enslave. That is the quiet freedom the Stoics believed every person could achieve. Your mind is like a garden, it cannot tell the difference between the flowers you intentionally grow and the weeds you constantly water. Every memory you revisit gains a little more strength, every old conversation you replay becomes a little more vivid, and every visit to their profile convinces your brain that the story is still unfolding. This is why healing often feels impossible. The pain is not only coming from what happened, it is being renewed by what you repeatedly choose to remember. The Stoics understood that attention is the most valuable currency a human being possesses. Whatever you consistently focus on shapes your emotions, your habits, and eventually your identity. If your attention remains chained to yesterday, your future never has the chance to take root. Your mind does not heal by endlessly revisiting the place where it was wounded. It heals by learning that there is still life beyond it. Every unnecessary glance backward silently tells your brain, this still matters more than my future. And with every repetition, the chains grow stronger. Stoicism invites you to perform one of the hardest acts of discipline: stop feeding what you are trying to forget. Redirect the energy you once invested in memories toward becoming someone your past can no longer recognize. Read books that challenge your thinking. Train your body until your confidence no longer depends on anyone's approval. Learn a skill that creates opportunities where heartbreak once created emptiness. Build routines that make your future too exciting to abandon for yesterday's ghosts. At first, these actions will feel small, almost insignificant. But every page you read, every workout you complete, every goal you pursue is another vote for the person you are becoming instead of the person you used to be. The past loses its power not because time magically erases it, but because your life becomes too full of purpose to keep living inside old memories. One day, without even noticing when it happened, you'll realize that the memories which once controlled your every thought have become nothing more than quiet chapters in a much greater story, the story of the person who chose growth over grief, purpose over obsession, and a future over a memory that could never love them back. The Stoics believed that your greatest possession is not your money, your reputation, or even your relationships, it is the quiet strength of a peaceful mind. Everything else can be taken away without warning. Fortune changes. People come and go. Success rises and falls. But the state of your inner world determines whether you remain unshaken through every storm. Ask yourself with complete honesty, what has endless overthinking truly given you? Has replaying the past made you wiser? Has obsessing over someone else's choices brought you closer to the life you want? Or has it simply stolen your sleep, your focus, your confidence, and the moments you will never get back? Every unnecessary thought carries an invisible cost. It drains emotional energy that could have been invested in your dreams, your health, your family, or your purpose. The greatest tragedy is not losing someone, it is losing yourself while trying to hold on to someone who has already become part of your past. Your peace is too valuable to be exchanged for endless mental battles that can never be won. That is why the Stoics treated inner peace as something sacred, something worthy of protection every single day. Just as you would never leave the doors of your home wide open for strangers, you must stop leaving the doors of your mind open to every painful memory and destructive thought. Not every thought deserves your attention, and not every emotion deserves your obedience. When your mind begins drifting toward regret, resentment, or unhealthy obsession, gently guide it back to the only place where your life actually exists, the present moment. This is not pretending the pain never happened. It is refusing to let pain become the ruler of your future. Like strengthening a muscle, every moment you choose awareness over rumination makes your mind a little calmer, your character a little stronger, and your spirit a little freer. Over time, those small victories transform into an unshakable inner fortress where peace is no longer something you occasionally experience, it becomes the place from which you live. And once you learn to guard that peace above everything else, you discover a freedom that no rejection, betrayal, or loss can ever steal from you again. The Stoics built their entire philosophy upon one life-changing truth: peace begins the moment you stop fighting battles that were never yours to win. So much of human suffering comes from trying to control what has always belonged to someone else. You cannot force another person to love you, value you, stay loyal to you, understand your heart, or return after they have chosen to leave. No amount of overthinking can rewrite their decisions, and no amount of pain can persuade reality to change its course. Yet countless people sacrifice years of their lives trying to solve a problem that has never been within their power. They search for the perfect words, the perfect explanation, or the perfect moment that will somehow change another person's mind. But the harder they chase control, the further peace slips away. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control because they understood that freedom begins when you clearly separate what belongs to you from what never did. Every moment spent trying to manage another person's choices is a moment stolen from mastering your own life. The first place. At first, you believe you have no choice but to keep dragging it along. Your shoulders ache, your steps become slower, and every path feels more difficult than it truly is. Then someone quietly tells you, you can put it down. In that single moment, nothing around you changes, but everything inside you does. Life feels lighter because you have finally stopped carrying a burden that was never meant to be yours. The same is true of emotional pain. You cannot carry someone else's heart, decisions, or destiny without crushing your own spirit in the process. What truly belongs to you is your character, your habits, your discipline, your integrity, and the direction of your future. These are the things no one can steal unless you willingly surrender them. Every ounce of energy you reclaim from the uncontrollable becomes fuel for becoming wiser, stronger, calmer, and more resilient.
And when your attention shifts from changing other people to transforming yourself, you discover something extraordinary. The life you were desperately waiting for begins the moment you stop chasing what was never yours to control. Heartbreak leaves behind more than silence. It creates an empty space where your hopes, routines, and sense of identity once lived. Most people rush to fill that emptiness with another relationship, believing that another person will erase the pain left by the last one. But the Stoics warned against building your healing on another temporary foundation. Instead of searching for someone to complete you, they encouraged you to become someone you deeply respect. Ask yourself, if no one were watching, would you admire the way you are living today? That question changes everything. The goal is no longer to prove your worth to someone who walked away, but to prove it to yourself through your actions. Every morning becomes an opportunity to strengthen your discipline instead of your excuses, your wisdom instead of your emotions, and your purpose instead of your loneliness. The person you become after suffering matters far more than the suffering itself. Pain can either become the prison that defines you or the fire that refines you. The choice has always been yours. The Stoics believed that true confidence is not built through compliments, relationships, or social approval. It is earned by repeatedly keeping the promises you make to yourself. Train your body until it reflects your discipline. Expand your mind until no setback can limit your perspective. Build your finances until your future is shaped by freedom rather than fear. Strengthen your character until honesty, courage, patience, and self-respect become your natural habits instead of occasional choices. Let every challenge become another reason to evolve rather than another excuse to remain the same. Then something remarkable begins to happen. You stop measuring your value by who chose you, who rejected you, or who failed to appreciate you. Your confidence comes from the life you have built, not the opinions of people who drift in and out of it. The greatest victory is not making someone regret losing you. It is reaching a point where their validation no longer matters because your happiness is rooted in the person you have become. When your life is guided by purpose instead of approval, your past loses its chains, your future gains momentum, and you finally discover the quiet power of becoming someone you would proudly choose every single day. Most people spend their lives trying to escape emotional pain as quickly as possible. They distract themselves, suppress their feelings, or search desperately for someone else to fill the emptiness. But the Stoics looked at suffering through an entirely different lens. They believed that pain is not merely something to survive, it is something to learn from. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every broken expectation carries a lesson hidden beneath the hurt. The question is whether you are willing to find it. Instead of endlessly asking, "Why did this happen to me?" the Stoics encouraged a far more powerful question. What is this experience trying to teach me? That single shift transforms your entire perspective. The breakup is no longer just a loss. It becomes a lesson in self-respect. Rejection becomes a lesson in resilience. Loneliness becomes an opportunity to discover who you are when no one else is defining you. Pain stops being a meaningless punishment and becomes a guide, leading you toward a wiser version of yourself. Every scar carries knowledge that comfort could never have taught. History remembers the people who allowed adversity to shape them rather than shatter them. The strongest souls were rarely those who lived easy lives. They were the ones who stood in the middle of suffering and refused to let it harden their hearts or destroy their character. Like iron entering a blazing furnace, they emerged stronger because they endured the fire instead of running from it. Your heartbreak has the same potential. It can awaken a level of patience you never knew you possessed, teach emotional independence that no relationship could have given you, and reveal strengths that only hardship can uncover. Every difficult season invites you to become more disciplined, more compassionate, and more unshakable than you were before. The wound itself does not determine your future. Your response to it does. You can spend years carrying it as proof that life has been unfair, or you can carry it as evidence that you survived, evolved, and refused to let suffering have the final word. The Stoics understood that life's deepest wounds often become its greatest teachers, and those who embrace their lessons eventually discover that the pain they once feared was quietly preparing them for a strength they never imagined possible. One of the hardest truths the Stoics ask us to accept is that not every story ends with an apology, an explanation, or the closure we believe we deserve. Some people will walk away without ever acknowledging the pain they caused. Others will rewrite the past to protect their own conscience, while you are left searching for answers that never arrive. It is tempting to believe that healing depends on hearing the words, "I'm sorry," or finally understanding why everything happened. But the Stoics understood a profound truth. When your peace depends on another person's actions, you have unknowingly handed them authority over your emotional freedom. As long as you wait for someone else to give you closure, your happiness remains delayed by a decision that may never come. True freedom begins when you realize that closure is not something another person gives you. It is something you choose for yourself. The moment you stop expecting the past to explain itself is the moment the future quietly begins to open its doors. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not about pretending the betrayal never happened or excusing the choices that wounded you. It is about refusing to carry a burden that keeps injuring you long after the event has passed. Imagine gripping a burning piece of charcoal with the hope that one day someone else will feel its heat. The longer you hold it, the more it burns your own hand, while the other person may never even know you are suffering. Resentment works the same way. It convinces you that holding on is a form of justice, when in reality it only prolongs your own pain. Forgiveness is the moment you decide that your peace is worth more than your anger, your future is worth more than your bitterness, and your life is too valuable to remain chained to someone else's mistakes. You release the weight not because they earned your forgiveness, but because you deserve your freedom. And when you finally stop waiting for another person to complete your healing, you discover one of Stoicism's greatest gifts, the power to reclaim your peace without needing anyone else's permission. Every sunrise presents you with a decision that quietly shapes the rest of your life. Before the world begins demanding your attention, you must choose where your heart will live today. Will it remain trapped inside yesterday's memories, replaying conversations that cannot be changed and chasing people who have already chosen another path? Or will it step toward the countless possibilities waiting beyond the horizon? The Stoics believed that life is created one choice at a time, and the most important choice you will ever make is deciding where to place your attention. The person you've been thinking about has already occupied enough of your thoughts, your emotions, and your precious time. Do not allow them to occupy your future as well. Your purpose is far greater than one heartbreak. Your potential stretches far beyond one disappointment, and your story was never meant to end where someone else walked away. Every new morning is life quietly whispering, "You are allowed to begin again." The past may explain who you were, but it does not have the authority to decide who you become. Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound self-respect. It means honoring your dreams instead of your fears, protecting your peace instead of your pride, and investing your energy in the life you are building rather than the life you have already lost. It means showing up for yourself on the days when healing feels slow, keeping promises to yourself when no one else is watching, and believing that your worth has never depended on another person's ability to recognize it. The Stoics understood that true freedom is born the moment your happiness no longer waits for someone's return, approval, or apology. Day by day, choice by choice, you become stronger than your regrets, wiser than your mistakes, and calmer than the storms that once threatened to destroy you. Then, one quiet morning, you will look back and realize that the person who once consumed your every thought has become only a small chapter in a much greater story. The greatest victory was never winning them back. It was reclaiming yourself. The greatest love story was never about finding someone else to complete your life. It was about discovering the strength, peace, and purpose that had been waiting within you all along. And once you choose yourself every single day, you become the kind of person no loss can break, no rejection can diminish, and no circumstance can ever take away from. Now I want to ask you something. What is one memory, one person, or one attachment you are finally ready to let go of today? Share your answer in the comments, because your story may inspire someone else to begin their own healing journey. The day you stop chasing what is already left is the day your soul finally begins walking toward the life that has been waiting for you all along. If this video brought value to your life and helped you see your situation from a new perspective, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future Stoic wisdom. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Your words could become the hope someone else needs today.